I just realized I kind of look like fucking Jim Cornette here. It's fucking scary. I got the glasses. I got the short hair. I got the clean shaven. Look like Jim Cornette. Now I gotta say fuck every other word and insult Vince Russo. I was going, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to talk about? What am I going to talk about? And then I read this article looking at why some superstars exceed in NXT but not on the main WWE roster. And I thought, this will be interesting. Because people are retarded. This is by the Dr. Chris Mueller, who's a featured columnist on Bleacher Report. Now, I don't know how you get a job writing for Bleacher Report, but whoever they hire are idiots. I mean, just about all of them are idiots. This guy says it's the crowd, because the crowd in NXT is made up of smarks, who, for those who don't know, are smart marks. They're like the internet wrestling crowd. And that's smaller, and it makes a huge difference. It doesn't make a huge difference. I will explain when I get done ripping into this guy for being an absolute idiot. Yeah, see, you can tell these things when we're done here. Next is the peers. You see, he says that everyone in NXT looks out for each other. And everyone on the main roster looks out for themselves and is real cutthroat. First of all, everyone on the main roster is not cutthroat. Only about half the people on the main roster are cutthroat. The other half people on the main roster look out for each other. Secondly, how the hell do you know they look out for each other in NXT? They could be just as cutthroat as the main roster. Who the hell knows? So, we don't even know if that one's true. You're just making shit up. So let's keep going and see what's next. Gimmicks. Because NXT, they have crazier gimmicks. I'm sorry. Bray Wyatt is a cult leader who does whatever. I'm not even sure what the fuck his gimmick is besides he's a cult leader. Okay? I'm not even sure what the fuck who he talks to, what his motives are, anything. I mean, this is a character who is a cult leader. That's all we know about him. He's one-dimensional. All we know is he's a cult leader, and he is incredibly over. If this were true, he should not be over. There is Kitty. Kitty wants to help. Because that gimmick is over the top and one-dimensional. And if this were true, it would not work on the main roster, and it did. So yeah, wild and crazy gimmicks like the Funkasaurus. Brodus Clay was fucking over as hell. And that gimmick should never have gotten over. Fandango got over and should have never gotten over. You can give them a crazy gimmick. It's the performer who gets it over, not the gimmick who gets it over. And we're going to come back to that. Don't worry. And that's all he says. Now, this is from the Dr. Chris Mueller. He's the doctor. He is a doctorate. Or I assume something to enable himself to call himself a doctor. Now, I do not claim to be a doctor. I do not claim to play a doctor on TV. I will admit to watching Scrubs. So that may make me a doctor. I am not sure, but I have watched lots of Scrubs. But I know why a lot of people who are coming up from NXT are not making it on the main roster. And it is because NXT and the main roster are not like, in baseball, they have a developmental system, like sports should, because this is sane to have you can send young guys here, and they can learn things, and then we can elevate them here, where they'll make millions and billions of dollars, and be ready to be there. So let's take baseball. Baseball, you have the AAA, the AA, the A, the B, the C, whatever. But the sport you play in A is exactly the same as the sport you play in AA, which is exactly the same as the sport you're playing in AAA. It is exactly the same. You're just playing it with different people. But it is exactly the same. WWE and NXT are like having a developmental territory for baseball where they play football. Yeah, there are similarities, but they're not the same. WWE is a story-focused wrestling program where the athletes are athletes, but they're mostly entertainers who are required to act on a regular basis and wrestle in short matches, except on pay-per-views, once a month. Not counting house shows every night, where a lot of the fans don't see that. So on TV, it's more about acting and facial expressions and getting over on the script. And then on pay-per-view, it's about the wrestling. When on the weekly shows, you don't get a chance to wrestle as much, because you get 5-minute matches on the shows as compared to NXT. Now, NXT is a wrestling-driven wrestling program with elements of story, where the wrestlers get themselves over. They're given 5-minute, they're given quick little interview areas to get themselves over, but they're mainly getting themselves over by being in the ring and being given 10 to 15-minute matches every week. Not 10 to 15-minute promos every week and 5-minute matches. They're given 5-minute promos and 10 to 15-minute matches. Do you see the bloody difference? It is like comparing baseball to football, people. Whether you want to compare to American football or soccer, it doesn't matter. It is worlds away from baseball. So like I said, why are they not getting over? Because developmental is not preparing them for WWE. WWE is story focused. You got short matches. You got to get yourself over on the mic, in storylines. You got to get yourself over with facial expressions. You have to be entertaining in short bursts when you can be entertaining and wrestle in short bursts, but be entertaining all around. You've got to be entertaining all around and larger in life and not count on wrestling to get you over. Well, NXT, you can get over with wrestling. You don't have to be that entertaining. So that's why it doesn't work. It's not the crowd, the peers, the tickets, the chairs, the tights are too tight, the ropes are too loose, the ring bells made of wood, and the ceiling fans not connected with wires. It's the difference between WWE storyline driven short wrestling matches weekly, NXT wrestling driven short storylines weekly. Developmental doesn't prepare you for WWE, because they're counting on wrestling and developmental, while WWE is counting on story. So you either got to change WWE, which the casual fan wants a storyline driven show, or you got to change NXT, which is what they should do. And it's going to piss off you internet fans, but I don't give a shit. You want them to work, that's how you get them to work.